Welcome to Block 4, Topic 7. You should be on page 195. And first thing we're going to look at is this hiking trail map that some of us have seen before on a constructive response, if we did the constructive response. So I have a hiking trail here, and I have different locations that I can stop along the trail. What does the word elevation mean? Going up. Is it just going up? It's your altitude, someone says. Is elevation just positive numbers? It could be negative numbers. Okay? Elevation deals with sea level. Can you be above sea level?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you be below sea level?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? What city is around us that's below sea level? New Orleans. And it is they call it a bowl, right? And what happens when the ocean gets really, really high above sea level? All the water goes over the walls of New Orleans and floods the town, right? Because it's a bowl. So we really could picture this part below sea level. That could be a picture of New Orleans. And the beginning of the trail could really be the town of New Orleans. And Lake Charles could be over here above sea level. And these right here at sea level, the picnic area, that could be the walls, those barrier walls that they have around New Orleans to keep the water out, right? Y'all heard about the walls? Okay, and when it peaks over the walls, New Orleans floods, right? Okay, what is the elevation of the picnic area? 0 feet. So that means what? What does 0 feet mean? It's at sea level. Good. 0 feet means it's at sea level. So that's number 1. Number 2 says, what is the elevation of the beginning of the trail? So looking at the beginning of the trail, that's kind of like where New Orleans would be. What is the elevation of the beginning of the trail? Negative 60 feet. And what does negative 60 feet mean? How far below?
Negative 60 feet. I mean 60 feet.
Okay, it is 60 feet below sea level is what negative 60 feet means. Tristan? Sure. What is the elevation of the telescope? I'm sorry? 80 feet. What does 80 feet mean? 80 feet above sea level. Okay, let's take a look at number 4. And it says, what happens to Josh? So Josh is apparently going to hike this trail. What happens to his elevation if he starts at the beginning of the trail? Where is the beginning of the trail? So he's starting at negative 60. And he's going to the water fountain. Where is the water fountain?
Negative 40 or 60.
So he's ending at negative 40 and 1/4. Something is being added to that to make it turn to negative 40 and 1/4. Is a positive or a negative number going to be added?
Positive.
How do you know positive?
Because it's a positive and a negative equals a negative. Because it's going up.
Because he's hiking up the sea level, right? Okay, so I need to know what X would represent. Anybody know what X would have to be, Eric?
20.
20? 20. Let's check with our little animation here. They're going to go over it. We're going to watch, what's his name? Josh. So here's Josh, and he's starting at the beginning of the trail. How much did he go up? Ooh, it was close to 20. How much did he go up? 19 3/4. So this was really 19 3/4 feet. Is 19 3/4 feet an increase or a decrease? What on that number tells you it was an increase?
Because
It's not negative.
in the negative, you have a positive, it will become more.
So I heard it's an increase because that number is positive. That's basically what I heard several people say.
And it's going up.
And it's going up the elevation. Okay, well let's look at number 5 scenario. So number 5, what happens to Josh's elevation when he moves from the water fountain? So where's he starting?
From the water fountain.
Where is the water fountain?
-40 and 1/4.
-40 and 1/4. So he's starting here. And he's going to the beginning of the trail. Where is the beginning of the trail?
Negative 60 feet.
Negative 60 feet. So something's being added to this that I'm not sure. Well, I have to go down to the beginning of the trail. So is a positive or a negative integer going to be added? What's telling you a negative?
Because it's going down.
Because it's going down further. So anybody have an idea? Eric, you think you know what it is this time?
I think it's just the answer from before, except it's negative.
Oh, so he thinks it's a negative 19 3/4 from before because he kind of took a lame trip, huh? He went up to the water fountain, then he was like, okay, I'm done. I'm going down back. Yeah. I guess maybe he's not a true
He's
hiker.
underwater that long.
Well, I guess he just needed a sip of water, and then he was like, all right, I'm out. Yeah. Okay, let's watch the animation and make sure that we were correct. He did go up 19 3/4. Now he's going back down. Obviously, he went down negative 19 3/4. So we were good. So was this an increase in elevation or decrease? What told you decrease?
Negative.
The negative told me a decrease in elevation. Okay, let's look at number 6 scenario. What happens to Josh's elevation when he moves from the beginning of the trail? So he's starting here at what elevation? Starting at negative 60. And he moves to the benches. So where does he end up? 43 and 3/4. Well, is a positive or a negative number going to be added?
Positive.
What tells you positive?
Because it's going up the.
Because he's going up to the benches.
I think it's from.
Well, what is the distance from the beginning to sea level?
60.
60. From negative 60 to 60 is there. What is the distance from sea level to the benches?
40.
43 and 3/4, right? So to know the total distance, what should I probably do?
Add them up.
Add them.
You could just add them
I have a prediction.
And what do you predict?
I think it might be in the hundreds.
You think it might be in the hundreds. Dawson, what do you think?
102 and
123 and 3/4.
103.
It's 113 and 3/4.
113 and 3/4 feet. I don't know. Let's see. He goes from the water beginning to the benches. 103 and 3/4. It is actually.
I would have got it, but I was thinking of 10 instead of the 3/4. I mean, I was thinking of the 10.
Because I would do 60 plus 43. 60 plus 40 is 100. And then 3 is 103. And then I have to add a 3/4. So 103 and 3/4. Is that going to be an increase or decrease in elevation?
Increase in elevation.
And what tells you increase?
It's going up the hill, or it's in because it's
Because you're positive and you're going up elevation. Okay, let's look at 7 scenario. We're looking at Josh's elevation as he moves from the benches. So the benches is here to the water fountain. So as his elevation go, where is the benches? 43 and 3/4. And where is he ending? The water fountain here. So is he going up or down?
Down.
Down. He went from the benches to the water fountain. He's going down. I need to know the distance he's going down. Is it going to be a positive or a negative added to this?
Negative.
Negative. What's telling you a negative?
Because you're going down to a negative 40.
Because you're going down. Well, I'm from here to here, I'm going down 43 and 3/4, right? From here to here, I'm going 40 and 1/4. So I would probably need to add those together. And Chance, what do I get?
I'm just real quick. At first, I got 83, but then don't you add the two fractions, and then that turns into a number. That turns to a whole number, and then you get 40. I mean, then you get 84.
Very good. 84 feet. And is it a positive or a negative?
Negative.
Negative, because he's going down. So is this an increase or decrease in elevation? Decrease. Yeah.
What I did was I took the 103 and 3/4 and subtracted 20 and 1/4, and I got 83 and 4.
So the last problem, the 103 and 3/4.
And then I subtracted 20 and 1/4.
Well, you could have just subtracted 40 and 1/4. Then you would have been there. Because you were looking at the whole thing, but I don't need this part here, so I subtracted that part off. You had a right idea that I liked. But you just subtracted the wrong number. Where'd you get 20?
Because that's in between the.
Just somewhere? Okay. I like that idea, though. That was very intelligent. Yes.
Okay, now work on the next problem.
Can you work out the next problem? Let me do it real quick.
Wait, I was still confused.
I'm sorry.
Wait. We're still on number 7?
Yeah. Okay. Number 8 says, what happens to Josh's elevation when he moves from the water fountain? Where's the water fountain?
Negative 40 and 1/4.
-40 and 1/4. And goes to the telescope. Where's the telescope? 80 feet. So is it a positive or a negative going to be added? A positive. Then he goes from the telescope, which was 80, and ends up at the overlook. Where is overlook? 70. So I have 2 blanks right now. I'm going to call the first one X and the second one Y. Well, Y is kind of easy to figure out. Does a positive or a negative need to be added for Y? From 80 to 70? A negative what? A negative 10. Okay, that one was pretty simple. So now we need to know what was being added for X. Is it going to be a positive or a negative?
A positive.
Positive. So I go from negative 40 and 1/4. Well, what's the distance there? 40 and 1/4. Then I end up at 80, so I go from 0 to 80. What's the distance from 0 to 80? 80. So what's that total distance for?
120
and 1/4. We added that together.
And then you just subtract and you just get 110 over.
Okay, so did he first, X would be an increase or decrease? Increase. Then Y, he went down to the overlook, so is Y an increase or decrease? Decrease. Let's check with the animation, make sure we did that correct. Went up to the telescope, then he goes down to the overlook. Did we get 120 and 1/4?
Yes.
Did we get a negative 10? And he ended at 70. So I think we did it the same, huh? We kind of did that in a different way. Okay, and that pretty much wraps up block 4. There's no workbook homework in block 4, just more practice homework. So thanks for listening. Have a great day. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and peace out. Bye.